Close your eyes and let the noise of the present fade away. Before you lies a forgotten world, a world of earth and fire, of stone and steel. Tonight, we journey back to the dawn of the Iron Age, where sparks from the forge lit the first fires of civilization, and humanity began to reshape the world itself. This is the real entire story of the Iron Age. As always, I choose not to include ads in my videos so you can relax and drift off peacefully without distractions after a long, busy day. It's more important to me that you rest well than to earn from ads. Before we begin, I'd love to know where are you listening from and what time you are now down below in the comments. I love seeing where everyone's tuning in from. Whether you're settling in for the night or just curious about where these legends came from, I'm glad you're here. Also, share which stories you'd love to hear next, and don't forget to subscribe and share it to someone who loves it too. Long before the Iron Age, the Earth was already alive with the sounds of human creation. Bronze, made from copper and tin, had become the heartbeat of civilization. Across Mesopotamia, Egypt, and the Aegean, brilliant empires rose on shining bronze tools and weapons. Palaces gleamed in the light of the setting sun. Merchants crossed deserts and seas with treasures of metal and stone. Humanity, it seemed, had found its golden rhythm. But nothing in history lasts forever. Around 1200 BCE, the world began to crumble. Cities that once thrived for centuries fell silent. Great kingdoms like the Mycenaeans, the Hittites, and the Egyptians faced storms they could not withstand. Some were burned, others abandoned, their walls swallowed by sand and time. Historians call this moment the Late Bronze Age collapse, a mysterious twilight that swept across the known world. No one knows exactly why. Some say it was the wrath of the gods. Others speak of droughts, invasions, or the failure of trade routes that held the old empires together. Whatever the cause, the ancient order fell, and humanity was cast into shadow. In the midst of this darkness, something new began to stir. Deep within the mountains of Anatolia, humble blacksmiths worked beside roaring furnaces. The fire glowed brighter, hotter, and deeper than before. In their hands, they held stones that refused to melt like copper, stones that hid a secret within. With patience, they hammered, heated, and shaped, until one day a spark revealed something never seen before: iron. At first, it was crude, brittle, stubborn to work with. But over time, these early smiths learned to tame the metal. Iron, unlike bronze, was born not from luxury, but from endurance. It was harder to make, but far stronger. And while tin for bronze could vanish from trade routes, iron was everywhere, hidden beneath the very soil people walked upon. As the fires burned, the new age quietly began. No king declared it, no empire announced it. The Iron Age crept forward like the dawn, slow, silent, inevitable. One village after another began to craft new tools, sharper blades, stronger plows. The world that had fallen into ruin was being reforged, not in gold or glory, but in the dark glow of furnaces beneath a night sky. This was not just the birth of a new metal, it was the birth of a new humanity. With iron, farmers could break new ground, warriors could forge new weapons, and entire civilizations could rise again from the ashes of the old. From the quiet fires of Anatolia, to the valleys of Greece, to the forests of Europe, a new rhythm began to echo across the earth. The hammer striking the anvil, the first heartbeat of the Iron Age. And as the stars watched above, humankind stepped into a new dawn, stronger, wiser, and forever changed. The Bronze Age has fallen, and from its ashes a new art is being born, an art that will reshape the destiny of humankind. Somewhere in the rugged hills of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey, ancient blacksmiths tended their forges beneath open skies. The air shimmered with heat, thick with smoke and the smell of burning charcoal. To these early artisans, the forge was not just a workshop, it was a temple. The fire was alive, unpredictable, a living spirit that could destroy or create, depending on the patience of its keeper. They had learned long ago that fire could change the very nature of the world around them. It could harden clay, melt copper, and shape bronze. But iron was different. It resisted the flame. It mocked the hammer. It hid its strength deep within a gray, unyielding stone. For generations, the early smiths experimented. They piled stones upon charcoal, fanned the flames with primitive bellows made from goatskin, and waited. Often they failed. The stones refused to melt. The fire went out. The smoke turned their eyes to tears. But slowly, they began to see patterns. When the fire burned hotter than any used before, the strange stones began to change. They softened, shimmered, and bled small drops of glowing metal. These drops, when struck and shaped, became something stronger than bronze, harder, heavier, and sharper. It was a discovery born of persistence, not brilliance, a victory of patience over time. These early blacksmiths unknowingly had stepped into the realm of gods. In many ancient myths, the forge became sacred ground. Across distant lands, stories began to form around this newfound mastery of metal. In Greece, Hephaestus, the god of fire and craftsmanship, was said to work deep within volcanoes, hammering the weapons of the gods themselves. Among the Hittites, smiths were honored as magicians, for they could coax life from stone and flame. Even in later Norse legends, the dwarves, keepers of secret forges, crafted weapons of such power that even the gods feared them. To forge iron was to touch something divine. But unlike bronze, which shimmered like the sun, iron was dark. It held no beauty, only strength. It did not shine, but it endured. The world began to see it not as a metal of wealth, but as a symbol of power. The Hittite smiths were among the first to control the process. Their forges were small, built into earth pits where heat could be trapped and focused. They used crushed ore mixed with charcoal, pumping air into the flames with primitive bellows to reach temperatures high enough to coax the iron out of the stone. When the molten metal was removed, it was not yet pure. It came out as a spongy mass filled with impurities called bloom. Then came the sacred act of hammering. The smiths would strike the bloom again and again, folding and shaping, forcing out the slag with every blow. Each strike was a conversation between human and metal, between earth and fire. The rhythmic sound of hammer on anvil filled the valleys. Clang, 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 a heartbeat of civilization reborn. As the knowledge spread, so did its power. Villages with even a single ironworker gained prestige. Tools made of iron plowed deeper into the soil, turning barren land into fertile fields. Iron blades cut wood more easily, built homes more swiftly, and hunted with greater precision. Slowly, iron became not just a tool of survival, but a foundation of life. Unlike bronze, iron could be found almost anywhere. The earth itself held it in abundance. No longer did a kingdom need to depend on faraway mines or trade routes for tin and copper. The age of trade empires gave way to an age of independence. Every tribe, every small community could hold the power of the forge in its hands. And with that, the balance of the world began to shift. Where once mighty kingdoms had ruled through control of trade, now power belonged to those who could command the fire. A new kind of people emerged, smiths, warriors, and farmers who no longer bowed to the old bronze lords. Across the ancient world, from Anatolia to Mesopotamia, whispers of a new era spread. The Iron Age had truly begun.
The discovery of iron was not just a step forward in technology. It was a transformation of the human spirit. For centuries, early smiths guarded their knowledge as a sacred secret. The forge became a place of reverence, surrounded by ritual and mystery. To approach it was to stand before fire, smoke, and transformation, a place where stone turned into strength and where humanity first learned to control something far greater than itself. In many villages, the blacksmith was not merely a worker. He was a mystic, a keeper of balance between nature and flame. People believed he could speak to the spirits of the metal, that the clang of his hammer was a form of prayer, and each spark that flew into the air carried the breath of creation itself. Before the forge, time slowed. The rhythm of hammer and bellows became a heartbeat, a song of patience, endurance, and creation. As the Iron Age spread across Anatolia, the Near East, and into Europe, blacksmiths began refining their craft. They learned that iron could be hardened through a secret process, by heating it again and again, then plunging it into cold water. This quenching gave birth to steel, a harder, sharper form of iron that could cut, carve, and conquer like nothing before it. In quiet workshops and smoky forges, new techniques emerged. The smiths learned to fold the metal, to weld it, to shape it into perfect symmetry. Some discovered that mixing carbon into the iron made it stronger still, though they did not yet know the science behind it. To them, it was alchemy, guided by instinct and the will of the fire. With each new discovery, the world changed. A plow forged from iron could turn the hardest soil into farmland. A simple blade could last for generations, and weapons, swords, spears, and arrowheads grew stronger and more deadly. Villages that mastered the forge gained power over those that did not. For the first time, the fate of tribes and kingdoms was determined not by bronze or gold, but by fire and iron. But the forge was more than a tool of power. It was a teacher. It taught patience. It taught humility before the forces of nature. And it taught humankind the art of transformation, how something imperfect could be made pure through pressure and flame. Ancient myths often spoke of the forge as a metaphor for life itself. In Greece, Hephaestus was cast down from Olympus, yet rose again to create wonders with his hands. In Mesopotamia, the smiths prayed to fire deities for protection before each forging, fearing the metal's temper like a living spirit. Even in later Celtic and Norse beliefs, blacksmiths were honored as wise and solitary figures, half artisans, half shamans, who could bend both metal and destiny. Each culture saw in the forge a reflection of itself, its resilience, its struggle, its rebirth. The secret of the forge spread slowly but unstoppably, carried by wandering craftsmen and traders who brought with them both tools and teachings. Across the mountains of Armenia, through the plains of Iran, down to the valleys of the Levant, a network of fire-bearers connected a changing world. In small huts under starlit skies, they built simple furnaces from clay and stone. Charcoal burned deep within. The sound of air rushing through bellows filled the dark. As the flames roared, the ore glowed, until molten droplets of iron gathered at the bottom, waiting to be born. And when the smith drew it out and struck it beneath the moonlight, sparks rose into the night like constellations, each one a fragment of humanity's growing mastery over the earth. This was the true secret of the forge, that in shaping the world around them,
humans were also shaping themselves. The forge taught them to endure, to innovate, to imagine, to take what was once raw and silent and make it sing.
As the Iron Age dawned, the world's landscapes began to glitter not with gold, but with steel-gray strength. Across the highlands of Anatolia, the fields of Assyria, and the river valleys of Greece and India, the blacksmith's craft found new purpose. Iron no longer served only farmers or craftsmen. It became the beating heart of armies. In the ancient world, bronze had ruled the battlefield. Its shining shields and smooth blades had armed kings and heroes for centuries. But bronze was costly. Its ingredients, copper and tin, were scattered and rare, dependent on fragile trade routes that crumbled when empires fell. When the Bronze Age collapsed, so too did the armies that depended on it. Iron, however, was everywhere, hidden beneath the soil, within mountains and rivers. It was the metal of the earth itself. Where bronze had belonged to the few, iron belonged to the many. For the first time, even small tribes and humble farmers could forge weapons of power. The first true warriors of iron rose from the heartlands of Anatolia, the Hittites, among the earliest masters of the new metal. Their smiths had long worked in secret, treating iron as a gift from the gods. The Hittite kings guarded the knowledge fiercely, using it to arm their soldiers with iron-tipped spears and blades harder than any bronze rival. For a time, they ruled as the world's most advanced army, until their own kingdom fell, scattering their secrets to the winds. And those winds carried iron far. Through trade, war, and migration, the skill of ironworking spread west into Greece, east into Persia, and north into Europe. Every land it touched was transformed. In the Aegean, Greek warriors began to forge swords that gleamed black in the dawn light, not polished bronze, but rough, deadly iron. In the lands of Israel and Philistine, rival tribes armed themselves with new blades that turned the tide of ancient battles. Across the plains of India, early Vedic warriors forged iron-tipped arrows that pierced shields once thought unbreakable. The age of bronze heroes gave way to something harsher, stronger, more human. Iron was not beautiful like bronze. It did not shine in the sun. It rusted, darkened, stained the hands of those who shaped it. But that was its power. It was humble, enduring, and everywhere. A sword of iron did not need polish to be feared. It needed only purpose. The new warriors of the Iron Age were not born in palaces. They came from farms, villages, and clans, people who could now arm themselves and rise against the mighty. The power of war shifted forever. Kings no longer ruled by the strength of gold, but by the number of iron blades they could command. It was a quiet revolution, not of words, but of weapons. From the Fertile Crescent to the far forests of Europe, war drums echoed once more. Spears were cast, shields raised, and the earth trembled beneath the feet of thousands. And though few understood it at the time,
The Iron Age had unlocked something ancient and terrible within humanity: the will to conquer, to defend, to forge destiny through struggle. But with war also came unity. The forging of iron required cooperation: miners, smelters, woodcutters, and smiths working together. A single sword was born not from one man's effort, but from an entire village's labor. This shared purpose tied communities closer, building the foundations for the first organized armies and societies built on production and strength. And as warriors marched across the land, they carried not just weapons, but symbols: the first banners, crests, and sacred emblems of war. The Iron Age saw the rise of identity, of tribes uniting under shared flags, of nations defining themselves by the forge. The clang of steel upon steel became the heartbeat of civilization. The battlefield was both a place of death and rebirth, where the fate of entire peoples was hammered into shape. And when the fires of war cooled, the same metal that built weapons also built plows, nails, and tools. Iron was a paradox, both destroyer and creator, curse and blessing. In its reflection, humanity saw both its best and its worst self. As the centuries passed, the knowledge of iron spread like the roots of a great tree. From one valley to the next, from one kingdom to another, the secret that had once belonged to humble blacksmiths became the foundation of nations. In the lands between the rivers Tigris and Euphrates, a new power arose: Assyria. Its kings were warriors, builders, and dreamers of conquest. The Assyrians understood what iron could do. They forged spears and chariots that crushed their enemies, and with every victory, their empire grew. The Assyrians did not see the forge merely as a workshop, but as a symbol of divine strength. The heat of the furnace reflected the fury of their god, Ashur. Their cities, built from stone and strengthened by iron tools, stood as testaments to discipline and order. Soldiers clad in iron helmets marched beneath banners that shimmered in the sun. And yet, even in their power, there was a sense of beauty. In their libraries, they collected stories and knowledge, thousands of clay tablets that preserved the memory of all who came before. The empire of iron also became an empire of words. Further east, beyond the mountains and deserts, another kingdom watched and learned: Persia. When the Assyrians fell, the Persians rose, inheriting both their power and their metal. Under the great kings, Cyrus, Darius, and Xerxes, Persia forged one of the largest empires the world had ever known. Iron built their palaces and armed their legions. But unlike many conquerors before them, the Persians ruled not only with the sword, but with tolerance and structure. They used iron to connect, not just to destroy. Roads paved with stone and strengthened with metal stretched for thousands of miles, linking cities across mountains and deserts. The famous royal road carried messengers faster than ever before, the first great arteries of empire. And along those roads came something more powerful than armies, ideas. Trade, faith, and culture flowed freely. Iron had made the world smaller, binding distant peoples together in ways no empire had ever done before. Across the sea, the Greeks too discovered the strength of iron. In their rugged land of mountains and scattered islands, they built city-states, polis, each proud, each free. For the Greeks, iron was not only a tool of war, but of equality. In the age of bronze, only the wealthy could afford weapons, but iron changed that. The common man could now bear arms and defend his home. Thus was born the hoplite, the citizen soldier, and with him the idea of democracy began to take shape. The forge gave rise not only to swords, but to freedom. Athens built ships with iron nails that sailed the Aegean, spreading art, thought, and philosophy. Sparta, with iron discipline, built warriors whose courage became legend. And in every corner of the Greek world, the clang of iron echoed beneath marble temples and markets filled with voices debating what it meant to be human. Even in the far north, in lands of mist and forest, iron whispered its promise. Celtic tribes in Europe forged intricate weapons, ornaments, and tools of unmatched beauty. Their smiths, revered as mystics, crafted blades that were as sacred as they were deadly. For them, iron was alive, a spirit born from fire and earth, deserving of ritual and respect. Before battle, they would strike their swords against shields, singing to the gods of war and nature. Each blade was a symbol of life and death, of transformation and courage. The forge had become universal, a shared language spoken by empires and tribes alike. It was no longer just the story of tools or weapons, but of identity. Humanity had entered an age of creation unlike any before it. But even the strongest metal can be brittle. Even empires, born of fire, can fade into ash. For as iron empowered humankind, it also fed ambition, conflict, and endless desire for control. The same furnaces that built palaces and armies also burned forests and lives. Civilization was growing, and with it, the weight of its own destiny. The Iron Age was now not only a time of progress, but of consequence. By the time the Iron Age spread across the world, humankind had already built temples, shrines, and sacred fires in honor of unseen powers. But now, with the rise of metal and mastery over Earth's deep secrets, the gods themselves seemed closer than ever and far more human. The forge became a holy place. The blacksmith, once a humble craftsman, became a priest of transformation. Fire was not merely a tool, it was the breath of creation. Across continents and cultures, similar symbols appeared: the hammer, the flame, the anvil, the earth, each carrying a story of birth, death, and rebirth. In ancient Greece, the people worshipped Hephaestus, the god of fire and the forge. Lame and scarred, he was not the graceful figure of a warrior or a king. Yet from his hands came the most divine creations, shields for heroes, jewelry for queens, and weapons that could shake the heavens. Hephaestus represented something new, the divinity of labor, the holiness of craft. He was the reminder that beauty and power are often born from imperfection and pain. In the dark corners of his volcanic workshops, Hephaestus worked endlessly, his hammer echoing like thunder, a sound that to the Greeks might have been mistaken for the beating heart of the world itself. Far to the north, in the misty forests of Celtic Europe, people spoke of gods who ruled not from the sky, but from rivers, hills, and trees. They believed iron carried spiritual force, a link between the mortal world and the unseen. Weapons were not merely tools of battle, but sacred offerings. Many Iron Age swords and shields have been found at the bottoms of lakes and bogs, cast there as gifts to the gods. Each piece of iron was believed to contain a fragment of life, the spirit of fire made solid. To the Celts, to create with iron was to act in harmony with the earth's own soul. Their priests, the Druids, spoke of balance between nature and mankind. Even in an age of conquest and power, they reminded people that iron could both heal and harm, that its fire could warm a home or destroy a kingdom. In India, the people of the Vedic world revered Agni, the god of fire, the eternal messenger between mortals and the heavens. Fire was sacred. It carried prayers through smoke to the gods above. Rituals were performed beside carefully tended flames, with offerings of butter, grain, and incense. In the Iron Age, Agni's fire took on new meaning. The flames of the forge were seen as part of the same divine light. To work metal was, in a sense, to take part in the cosmic act of creation. Every spark, every strike of the hammer, echoed the moment the universe was born. Order rising from chaos, shape from formlessness. In the Middle East, the people of Assyria and Babylon saw fire as both blessing and curse. It was the domain of gods like Nusku, the divine light that guided both kings and commoners. The forging of iron was an act of power, one that mirrored the gods' own ability to transform the world. When smiths worked, they invoked protection against chaos, believing that if they misused fire, it might consume them, body and soul. Fire demanded respect. It could create kings or destroy cities. Even in Africa, among early Iron Age communities south of the Sahara, the forge was a place of magic and secrecy. The blacksmith was a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. They spoke to iron as if it were alive, coaxing it, calming it, shaping it. Many believed that iron was a gift from the heavens, brought by lightning. And so, when the smiths worked, they sang softly, chants that asked the spirits for patience, for guidance, for strength. Their forges were often hidden, their rituals private, for to command fire was to hold something sacred, even dangerous. Across all lands, the Iron Age redefined the way humans related to the divine. The gods were no longer distant rulers high above. They lived in the heartbeat of the forge, in the warmth of the hearth, in the courage of the warrior, and in the quiet endurance of the farmer. The Age of Iron taught humanity that creation and destruction were twins, forever bound, that the same fire that could craft a tool could also spark a war, and that wisdom, not power, was the truest form of mastery. As the world entered the Iron Age, life began to change, not all at once, but slowly, like dawn spreading over the horizon. The tools of iron, stronger and sharper than bronze, transformed daily existence. Farmers could till deeper into the earth, break harder ground, and harvest more food than ever before. Forests, once too dense to clear, now opened into fertile meadows. With iron plows and sickles, humanity learned to tame the land in ways their ancestors could only dream of. A simple blade, dark and heavy, had given birth to abundance. Across Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, new kinds of settlements appeared. Small clusters of roundhouses built from timber, clay, and thatch. In these homes, life revolved around the hearth. The fire that once belonged only to the forge now burned gently for warmth, light, and food. At dawn, smoke rose in thin silver threads from every home, carrying with it the scent of grain porridge and baked bread. Children ran barefoot between huts, their laughter mixing with the sounds of livestock, goats, pigs, and cattle that grazed nearby. The people were no longer wanderers. They had become rooted, grounded, tied to the rhythm of the land. Evenings were moments of peace. Families sat together as the fire crackled, telling stories of their ancestors, tales of gods, heroes, and the mysteries of the stars. These were the first bedtime stories, passed not through books, but through memory and love. The Iron Age brought new forms of craftsmanship. Blacksmiths, potters, and weavers filled the villages with the hum of creation. In one corner of the settlement, the blacksmith's forge glowed red. The steady rhythm of hammer on metal echoed across the fields. Sparks danced into the air like tiny stars, lighting the dusk. A few steps away, potters shaped clay into jars and bowls, spinning them on simple wheels before hardening them in fire. Every household object, from a cooking pot to a drinking cup, carried the marks of human hands, the quiet beauty of imperfection. Trade grew between communities. Iron tools, salt, grain, and cloth passed from hand to hand along paths that would one day become roads. Small rivers carried canoes filled with goods, linking distant villages in networks of trust and exchange. People learned to rely on one another, to barter, to share, to survive. In the quiet corners of these villages, women played roles of immense importance. They ground grain into flour, wove garments from flax and wool, tended gardens and cared for children. But they were not only caretakers. Many were skilled artisans and healers, keepers of herbal knowledge and ritual wisdom. They carried the rhythm of life itself, the unseen foundation upon which entire communities rested. In Iron Age graves, archaeologists have found jewelry, tools, and symbols that belonged to women of status and power. These were not forgotten figures, but leaders in their own right, priestesses, matriarchs, and storytellers whose words shaped generations. Life in the Iron Age was not without hardship. Winters could be cruel. Crops sometimes failed. Conflicts over land and resources were common. Yet, even in struggle, there was resilience. People built strong hill forts on high ground, not only as defenses, but as symbols of unity. From their wooden walls, they could see the patchwork of fields below, the rivers that nourished them, and the forests that provided shelter and wood. Season by season, they worked, harvested, and rebuilt. Life was a cycle, harsh but meaningful, bound to the turning of the earth. What truly defined the Iron Age was not the metal itself, but what it revealed about humanity. The people of this time were not faceless ancestors. They were dreamers, thinkers, and creators. They sang to the fire, feared the storms, and painted their world in color and sound. They built homes, raised families, and looked up at the same stars that shine above us now, wondering what lay beyond the edge of the sky. Their hearts beat with the same hopes and fears as ours, and in their humble lives, the essence of civilization was quietly taking shape.
With iron in their hands, humans transformed the art of war. The bronze weapons of old had limited reach, and armies had been small, elite, and fragile. Iron changed that. For the first time, commoners could bear swords, shields, and spears. Entire villages could arm themselves, creating armies both numerous and resilient. This shift gave rise to new strategies, formations, and legendary battles that reshaped the world. The Hittites, Assyrians, Celts, Greeks, and Persians, each people forged their warriors with iron tools and skill. They became known not just for courage, but for innovation. Spears were hardened, shields reinforced, and armor made lighter yet stronger. The battlefield became a dance of fire, sweat, and steel. Some warriors became more than fighters. They became legends. In Greece, the hoplites stood shoulder to shoulder, their iron-tipped spears forming the phalanx, a wall of unity and strength. Each man depended on his neighbor, each life intertwined with another. Here the individual and collective became inseparable. The Celts, with swords forged from high-carbon iron, roamed the forests of Europe. Their warriors were both feared and admired, their battles remembered in song and story. Celtic chieftains often rode into conflict adorned with intricate iron jewelry, demonstrating that strength and artistry could exist together.
Even in far-off India, iron-tipped arrows rained upon the battlefield, giving rise to stories of kings and princes whose deeds were remembered for centuries. Iron changed the scale of conflict. Cities once considered impenetrable now fell to armies wielding sharper, stronger weapons. Siege tactics evolved, with catapults and battering rams reinforced by iron. Fortresses that had protected generations could no longer hold indefinitely. Yet battles were not always brutal chaos. Many were governed by discipline, strategy, and honor. Leaders studied terrain, coordinated troops, and relied on the unity of their soldiers. Victory was never guaranteed, but courage and ingenuity often turned the tide. The songs of bards and storytellers immortalized these conflicts. They spoke not only of bloodshed, but of loyalty, courage, and sacrifice. These stories would pass from parent to child, shaping cultural memory for generations. Though war was a central part of the Iron Age, it was not all destruction. Communities grew stronger in response to threats. Trade networks expanded as kingdoms sought alliances. Skills in metalworking, strategy, and communication flourished. Behind every warrior was a family, a village, a blacksmith who had labored for days to craft the perfect blade. Iron did not only create heroes, it created the framework of society, the relationships, the knowledge, and the networks that would endure long after battles ended. Even in defeat, lessons were learned, technologies improved, ideas spread. Civilization moved forward, carried on the backs of those who dared to wield iron with both courage and wisdom. The Iron Age gave rise to myths and legends intertwined with metal and fire. Heroes were remembered for their bravery, rulers for their cunning, and smiths for their skill. Iron was more than a tool of war. It was a symbol of human potential. The same hammer that struck a sword could forge a plow, a nail, or a building. The warrior's strength mirrored the resilience of communities, and their stories, whispered through generations, became the first threads of history and folklore that would inspire countless generations to come. As the centuries passed, the Iron Age reached its twilight. Kingdoms that had risen on the strength of iron now faced internal strife, shifting trade, and new cultures encroaching on their lands. The mighty Assyrians had fallen, leaving behind ruins where once their banners had fluttered. Persia, grand and sprawling, faced challenges from within and without, as new empires like Macedonia and Rome began to awaken. Even in Greece, the golden age of city-states gave way to larger kingdoms as conquest and unification reshaped the landscape. Iron had built these civilizations, but it could not preserve them forever. Yet the end of one era was not the end of progress. Iron continued to shape the world, even as societies transformed. Tools, weapons, and knowledge were passed down, refined, and spread to new regions. Small villages became towns, towns became cities, and ironwork remained at the heart of every home and hearth. Trade routes extended farther, connecting peoples across continents. From the forests of Europe to the plains of India, iron traveled with merchants, smiths, and travelers, a symbol of connection as much as power. The people of the Iron Age may have faded into history, but their ingenuity did not. Farmers continued to till the land with iron plows. Blacksmiths shaped tools, nails, and simple weapons for generations. Craftsmen carried forward designs and techniques that would influence countless civilizations. Stories of heroes and gods, warriors and wise rulers passed through oral traditions, etched into stone or carved into metal. These tales would inspire later cultures, Romans, Celts, and beyond, keeping the spirit of the Iron Age alive long after the last battle had been fought. Even ordinary people, whose names are lost to time, left an imprint. Their villages, their work, their dreams, and their songs became the foundation for the civilizations that followed. Iron, once a secret and rare material, had become ordinary, yet extraordinary in its impact. It was a silent witness to humanity's triumphs and failures, its hopes and fears. From the simplest plow to the mightiest sword, from the village forge to the palace workshop, iron shaped life, society, and culture. It was both the backbone and the mirror of civilization.
The Iron Age may have ended thousands of years ago, but its legacy remains. The simple discovery of iron, once mysterious and rare, transformed the course of human history. It shaped empires, empowered common people, and gave birth to technologies that would ripple through the centuries. From farming tools that fed millions to weapons that defended or conquered, iron became the backbone of civilization. Roads, plows, nails, bridges, and buildings, even coins and art owe their development to the mastery of this humble metal. The people of the Iron Age taught humanity something profound, that ingenuity and labor can transform the world, that even ordinary hands wielding simple tools can shape destiny, that the power of one element, fire and metal, can alter the fate of nations. Their courage, creativity, and resilience echo not only in history books, but in our daily lives. Every iron railing, every forged blade, every tool used to plant, build, or create carries a whisper from the past. Beyond tools and weapons, the Iron Age left a spiritual and cultural mark. Myths, legends, and rituals tied to iron and fire influenced countless generations. The stories of warriors, gods, and artisans inspired later civilizations. Rome, Greece, India, China, and the medieval world all inherited lessons from this age. Even today, the idea of human skill shaping the world, the blacksmith as a symbol of transformation, continues to inspire art, literature, and imagination. Trade, migration, and cultural exchange during the Iron Age also laid the groundwork for our interconnected world. Communities once isolated now communicated, exchanged goods, and shared knowledge.
Roads and rivers became veins of civilization, carrying ideas, beliefs, and innovations far beyond their origins. The Iron Age reminds us that human progress is built step by step, village by village, forge by forge, hand by hand. As you drift into sleep, imagine standing in a quiet Iron Age village. The glow of a dying forge, smoke curling into the night sky. Children laughing near the fire, unaware of the vast world beyond. A blacksmith carefully lifting a hammer, shaping iron into a tool or a sword, quietly participating in the eternal story of human progress. The Iron Age may have ended long ago, yet its story lives on, not only in museums, textbooks, or legends, but in every creation, every effort, every spark of ingenuity we carry forward today. The world, like iron itself, endures. The fire of humanity, once kindled, continues to shape the future.